aka the... No, I'm not the electric geek. Let's try that one again. Nothing coming to me.
I don't know.
We'll cut that out then, that's fine.
Transition.
Like, which
This
records
happens
cracked
to me.
effect should I use here?
Aye.
Hello everyone, welcome to Geek Chat. My name is Jimmy, aka the Scottish Geek Guy. This is our first episode of the podcast, live and in person. And for my first guest, I have someone who I would probably consider, and I would say is my first ever YouTube friend. This legend of a guy reached out to me way back. I say way back, like 9 months ago or something like that. When I first started here on YouTube, he reached out to me just to introduce himself and say hello, and then say nice things about my work. So without further ado, let's introduce you to the first guest. It is Andy, aka the Electric Geek. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thanks, Jimmy. Thanks for that flattering introduction there. You're more than welcome. It was a pleasure to reach out back then. As I say, it's nice. This has been a long time coming because this is kind of take two of this podcast, isn't it? We kind of had a date in the past.
We kind of did, yeah.
It kind of it fell through for both of us, but no, it's awesome to come in this kind of setup and meet you, but also be doing a bit of content. So it's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Excellent. Again, thanks very much for being, the first guest. Let's just dive right into it. Talk to me about your YouTube journey. How, where, when, and why did it start?
Well, YouTube. So I don't really have any background in like yourself. I'm not. It's not something I do for a living. I didn't have any background in like content creation or any knowledge of editing or anything like that. But I've always been big into movies, so worked for Blockbuster Video as like a 18-year-old back in the day. Always been a dreamer, basically. Always looking for to be immersed in whatever fantasies and stuff. So always been a big movie fan. But I kind of maybe prior to COVID, I have been following different YouTube channels, and I was quite into like 4K. I'm into like picture quality stuff, so I used to follow I still follow like Films at Home. I think he's rebranded to Jeff Russo now, but like Films at Home. A guy called Spare Change, who's also rebranded to his own name now that he's got bigger. But I just was watching these channels and I quite enjoyed it. Enjoyed it as a consumer, and then I slowly started to think I could do this. Not necessarily better, but I think I could do this. And there's not an abundance of British guys, especially or Scottish guys that do it. So I thought maybe people would be more interested that are from Scotland or from the UK to hear someone from the UK who's dealing with, because we don't get the same releases obviously in the UK as we get in the US. So that was kind of how it started. And I'm quite creative, and I like speaking to people. I'm quite social that way, and I like to kind of get involved in community. If there's a community there and whatever my hobby is, I'll be there. I'll be getting immersed in it. So that's how it started. It just kind of started that way, and I meant to be more technical, if I'm honest, and focus more on like the reviews and the equipment used for watching it. But I kind of got sucked into the whole physical media and all the lovely people in that community and kind of sharing a love of collecting stuff and love of movies and everything. So it took a wee bit of a turn, but that's kind of where we are. And it's just, it's exciting, creating videos and challenging myself and stuff. And that's how it's kind of grown to where it is.
And do you remember what your first video was on YouTube?
My first video, what was it again? Yes, I do. And it was nothing like what I actually cover now. So it was a settings video for Call of Duty, because we'd just come out of COVID, if you remember.
Yeah.
Everyone was playing. Everyone was playing.
COVID was that?
I know, it seems like this horrible nightmare that actually happened. But everyone was playing Warzone. It came out at that time. Nobody could see their mates and stuff, so we're all playing. So I was just looking for something easy, to be honest. I set up my little camera, recording my screen, and it was a really boring settings video, but it was just that initial video to like edit something, put it together, and I spoke off camera. But I was quite quick to get in front of the camera, and then that's when I went down the kind of movie route. But yeah, to put spoilers, but absolutely nobody watched that settings video. So
what would you say was your you talked about what your niche ended up becoming. What surprised you as you started getting into being a YouTube creator? Like what was something that took you by surprise?
Something that took me by surprise? Probably the main thing was how kind of receptive the community is. especially in the physical media side, it's quite a small niche community, but they're very active and very vocal, and they want to be heard in the comments. I did a live stream fairly quickly, and I was amazed that people actually tuned in to watch it. But it's not because of me; it was because of the kind of passion for the subject, I think. But I think just the biggest surprise for me was just how not everybody has that experience, but nobody's really. This isn't a cue, by the way. Nobody's really been nasty to me yet. I'm going to get negative.
If anyone wants to be nasty, there's your chance.
There's your chance, aye. So no, everyone's been so far. I've had comments, about my content, but nothing really, really malicious. Maybe I played it too safe, but aye, just how kind of welcoming the community was, and how quick people kind of started to comment on the content was quite surprising. I thought I'd maybe be plugging away, for 50, 100 videos before anyone even watched. But fortunately, I got a very small following, but people started watching quite early. So,
do you remember? Was there a moment where maybe it was your first video that had over X amount of views, or do you remember a moment or a specific piece of content where you thought, this is actually working? I'm enjoying this, and it looks like people are enjoying watching this. Was there a moment where you thought, this is working?
Yeah, I think what was big for me was, I think the thing I want, the type of video I wanted to be a success was the 4K reviews, because no offence to anyone does, I know you do a lot of unboxings, I do a lot of unboxings, but unboxings are pretty much the presentation and the product themselves. But doing a 4K review, it's my opinion on the transfer, my technical know-how, if you like, and so I thought, if I can get one of those to land and people to watch, then it's a bit of validation for me that people that hopefully they like the content, and two, they actually value what I'm and trust in what I'm saying about the transfer. So I think the very first one that done well was a RoboCop one, which was also nice, because I think up until that point I hadn't gone near any of my real favourites, but RoboCop was a massive favourite of mine. So it was kind of it was nice, a bit of a full circle moment, that when I went to an old favourite that had been there all my life, my kind of comfort, people came, people watched, and I got a couple of thousand views on that one. And that, as I say, that was nice, because it was well, that's something I enjoy doing, is those reviews, and people are watching. So that kind of gave me the confidence and spurred me on a wee bit to keep doing that. Right.
And how long ago was it that you did your YouTube channel? And what would you say? What have you learned from then to now?
What have I learned?
Well, how long ago did you start your channel?
So probably coming up in about 3 years, 2.5 years maybe, since I started it. I think the key, I get impatient and overwhelmed, and I've learned to I'm still struggling a bit with that, but don't look at other big channels. You can't get carried away with, you can't compare your year 1 to someone else's year 20, as they say, kind of thing. And that's what I was bad for. So I wanted to, if I was inspired by Jeff Russo, Films at Home, then I was trying to compete with him out the blocks. So, which is just ridiculous.
How did that go?
Not very well. No, he's still absolutely smashing me. No, but so you can't, and your success is going to be, like I say, you've got to be realistic that he's been through that already. You've got the hard yards to make. Very few people come on YouTube and become overnight sensations. Yeah. And if they do, it's because they're extremely talented, maybe really, really, electric personalities, no pun intended. Or what they're doing, the style of content they're doing is completely fresh. Not because I was taking on something that was an established topic and just trying to change it slightly and make it, to my taste. But I think if you want to be super, super viral, like a Mr. Beast, you have to be coming out and being like, I'm going to give away 100 houses, something that's absolutely mental that people want to watch. So if you're doing something that's an established topic that's quite competitive, there's other people doing it, then don't be put off by that, because it kind of means that obviously there's an interest in it, but you have to be realistic it's going to take time for people to trust you. The people need to trust you before they'll start watching, and that kind of takes time. So patience, and that's probably the biggest thing. Have patience and don't get distracted by what other people are doing, because I was bad for that. Maybe I'm doing something that's personal to me, but then it feels insignificant compared to what someone else is doing. So then I would doubt that and maybe shelve it or change, but you have to kind of stick to what you know, because that's ultimately when your passion will come out. I think it's quite obvious sometimes when YouTubers, like movie review or anything for that matter, are doing something that's maybe what they think the community want and not necessarily what they're into, kind of thing. Because you're a bit dead behind the eyes when you're talking about it. I've done it. I've done a couple of videos like that where I've maybe not been fully invested, and funnily enough, those aren't the videos that people have watched from me, because you can probably sense that you're not it's not really what you're into, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably what I've learned. Just be patient. Sounds a bit generic, but be patient, be true to yourself, and just remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Good stuff. So you mentioned there what you're into. That's a good segue, I suppose, to kind of go into the next topic, which is kind of generally talking about the niche that you're in, talking about like movies in 4K. So we're going to go letterboxed style, and I'm going to hit you with 4 movies.
No.
Go.
4 movies, right? Well, I could just be boring and go with what's actually on my letterboxd, which are very popular choices, to be honest. So I'll just go with that. So I'm not a believer in putting pretentious films on your letterboxd. I think people go a wee bit pretentious, and I look at it and I call bullshit, and I say, there's no way you're watching that every month, you know. So, like, you know,
hang on. I'm going to answer. So, like, give me some examples. What are pretentious movies then?
I don't know. Like, you know, somebody's like got Citizen Kane in their top 4. And you're like, but they've also got like The Predator. You're like, so you tell me you watch The Predator every month, and then straight after you're sticking Citizen Kane on because you love that just as much. It's kind of like, you know,
it's an interesting double bill.
Aye, it is. So. Don't hate me if anyone's got Citizen Kane in their top 4. But yeah, I just kind of go, if it's letterboxd top 4 for me, it's kind of like films that I'd watch over and over again, or have a lasting cultural impact on me. So it'd be like, I'm a big action fan, like Bond. I grew up with Bond. That was what got me in there. So I've got Casino Royale in there. I've got Raiders of the Lost Ark, because I think it's the best action film of all time. RoboCop, because it's probably one of my favourite and most watchable sci-fi films, and just gets better with age all the time. The satire in it is still relevant today. And I've drawn a blank now to what my other one is. What's my other one? It's terrible.
Is it Citizen Kane?
It's not Citizen Kane. Let's just say it's Citizen Kane. What's one that I really was quite important to me? Like, this is left field. So it's going against everything I've just said. I don't watch it over and over again, but a film I watched that was extremely powerful for the time, I watched it in my life, was Marriage Story. So you didn't expect that, did you? I
did not expect that, but I think that's a phenomenal movie.
And I would watch Marriage Story again. I've only seen it once, so it goes against everything I've just said about rewatchability. But it's a huge, very powerful film, and I was at a place in my marriage, not to go into all that, but that was very relevant at the time. And it's such a realistic depiction, I think, of like how difficult a marriage can be.
100%.
Realistic.
100%.
You know, we see so many romantic movies and stuff, and where people always end up together and all that. Spoiler alert, but that doesn't quite happen in this film. But it's just amazing, and it really cemented how I think Adam Driver is one of the best actors working today. And I highlight Scarlett Johansson's a great actor as well. But yeah, having watched her in MCU for so long, and then see her deliver something really kind of earthy and true. Kudos to her. But yeah, there you go. Off the top of my head, I've just flung in Marriage Story. I can't remember what the other one is. There's one on Letterboxd, my 4th, but I can't remember. That's
a good top 4. Like, I mean, all 4 of those movies are great movies. I don't think any of them would be in my top 4, but RoboCop would definitely be in the top 20. Total tangent here. Have you seen the documentary?
I have, yes.
What was your thoughts on that?
On Blu-ray. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Really, really worth it. I think I'd seen... Did you put a post on a short up about it? Recently?
I think I put on one of my live streams where I talked about everything I watched in that month.
That's what it was.
Like, I think it was back in February. It was part of my February watch list. Yeah,
because I think I must have seen maybe the clip you put on. But I agreed with what you said. It's like it's an absolute must if you like RoboCop, but it's actually just so well put together that if you're into making ofs in any way, like if you just enjoy, that's something I've got more and more into, is actually the making of stuff, and you know, the kind of the ensemble effort behind making movies is something that really interests me, and I've started to get into commentaries and stuff. So if you're just into filmmaking, you know, it's a really good documentary in that regard.
Yeah.
But yeah, just so well done. It's got a brilliant tone. The tone kind of fits the film itself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, really worth checking out. I bought it, I pre-ordered it on Blu-ray, and I don't regret it, so it's in my collection now.
It's one that I bought it. This is, blasphemy for people who are like against streaming services, but I didn't buy the Blu-ray because I'm waiting to buy a copy of the Steelbook that's not stupid money on eBay. So I had Google Play vouchers, so I bought it like on YouTube Movies to watch it, and knowing that when I can get a copy of the Steelbook for less than 50 quid, I'll get it, because the Steelbook was only released in the States, I think. So you can get it on eBay, but it's like 40, 50, 60 pounds or something like that. So like, I've got it on my watch list, so I'll pick up a physical copy of that. When it comes down in price. Okay, so that's kind of, why did that tangent come about? Yeah, because RoboCop was on.
Because it was on my.
It was on.
Fact, you know what? Let's just go. Let's just put this to bed. What that fourth film is.
You're going to say Letterboxd?
So I'm not taking back Marriage Story, but I need to. It's so embarrassing.
So Matt, we'll push Marriage Story to we'll push Marriage Story to number 5, and I'll vamp while Andy checks his phone to jump on his Letterboxd. You got it? Right, you go.
What is it? Oh my god, I feel so embarrassed. Let's see what this is. So can anyone see that? It's Blade Runner. It's Blade Runner. It's probably like, it's the film I always say is my favourite film of all time, and I've just completely left it off. Anyway, and dumped it for Marriage Story. But yeah. Controversial
opinion. I'm not a huge fan of Blade Runner. It's not a bad movie, but like, I know a lot of people put it in, in their top 4.
It's quite.
It wouldn't scratch my top 50, I don't think.
Right, okay.
Which, I get is an unpopular opinion, but I've got lots of unpopular opinions apparently this week.
Let's not talk about you.
No. Anyway.
So Blade Runner's on there. I won't harp on about it, but yeah, I agree with you. Blade Runner's almost a movement, isn't it? Like, it's an aesthetic kind of cultural movement almost. Like, a lot of people attach themselves to Blade Runner, probably myself included to an extent. Yeah. It's like I'll admit that Blade Runner's quite a slow film, and I don't think, it's not a perfect film by any means, as we know. There's umpteen cuts of it because it was a mess. Yeah, there's a lot of kind of loved flaws and stuff, but it's a cocktail. It's like, it's all these great elements that I don't think go together to make a perfect movie, but all the elements, the soundtrack, visuals, concept, themes are all so strong on their own that it doesn't matter that they don't all quite sync.
I mean, there's a reason that that it makes many people's top 10, top 5, top 1 movies of all time. It's it just, I don't know whether it was an age thing. Maybe I came to it too late or too early when I first saw it. And again, I do remember the thing that didn't help was, I remember when I first watched it, it was a DVD copy of it, but it had like 4 different cuts on it, and I'm like, which one should I watch? Like, and the internet, did it exist then? I mean, if the internet existed when I'm talking about, like, it's not like there was an easy site that you could check, what's the definitive cut? There probably is a cut called the definitive cut, but then there's also the 14 other cuts, so I mean, that's maybe partly why. Anyway, that's enough Blade Runner. Do you remember the first physical media you bought? Like, are you a VHS generation, or are you a DVD generation?
So I definitely lived through the VHS. Like, we had VHSs in the house, and I remember being bought VHS tapes for Christmas, just like stocking fillers and stuff like that. But when I had actually had my own money, as such, as I alluded to earlier, I was a big Bond fan. Yeah. So the first kind of collecting I did was, if anyone remembers, the Bond VHS tapes that had like there was like a overall landscape picture would be formed. Yes. Which there's been loads of iterations of that, but this actually had the actors on it, and it was a big kind of almost like quad poster it made. So I kind of half started collecting that, and that was the beginning of collecting for me, in a sense. I was enjoying saving up pocket money and then buying, and I hadn't seen all the Bond films, so I'd be seeing them for the first time, and them to collection, being all geeky and that. But then it wasn't until, but when I was mainly spending money, it would be the DVD era, and I abandoned that Bond VHS collection, sadly, and moved on to the first versions of them in DVD, which, if you remember, created the 007 logo on the side. So I finished that collection, and it came in a kind of silver tin thing. So that was the kind of beginning of it for me. Yeah, so that was probably the late 90s, like 97, 98, so early days of DVD.
Yeah. And what was the What was the last bit of physical media that you bought?
The last bit of physical media I bought was a little bargain pickup from CEX. It was Sicario 2 on 4K with the slip for £8. So, because I've got the first one.
Yeah.
And I've actually got that on, like, it was a free Sky Store rental or something I've had for ages on digital, but it's annoying me that it's on digital, and I'd quite like to have it. So, do you ever get that, Jimmy, where you just get an itch to buy something?
All the time.
Aye.
Yes.
I'm speaking to the wrong guy. It's like asking, and I'll if he fancies a drink. But it's like, sometimes you just don't know what it is, but you just need to buy something. I need to add to the collection, and it doesn't necessarily need to be brand new, but it can be anything. So that was one of those ones for me. It was kind of went out of my way that day with intent into a CX, and I was coming away with something.
And what was? Do you remember what was the first movie you saw in the cinema?
I do. Yes, it was the original live-action Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, Ninja Turtles.
The
90s one, the 1990.
The movie was called Ninja. I'm almost sure they kept the movie Ninja, but the cartoon in the UK they changed to Hero because Ninja was a video nasty word or something like that.
That's
but
right.
I'm sure the movie was still Ninja.
So was Heroes a UK thing?
As far as I know, Heroes was just I'm sure it was to just for the cartoon,
Europe or something.
The UK and maybe Europe, but I'm sure that was just like a censors thing, like from the video nasties, like BBFC, Tirade. They just like, oh no, you can't have Ninja in the title. So like you can YouTube it, like you can see the cartoon in America. I'm sure it was called Ninja Turtles, but like they changed it to Hero Turtles over here because it's a bad word. So the first movie you saw was.
Yes, in 1990, I must have been like 4 or 5, I think. My dad took us to see that with my younger cousins who basically I remember them getting up and like running about doing cartwheels in the cinema and all that. Must have been an absolute nightmare. Having kids of my own now, I now appreciate that happens at these shows, and you just have to roll with it. But
very much so, yeah. What was what's the film that you own most copies of? Like, do you have multiple copies of any movie, or are you quite strict about not doing that?
So the one I probably own the most copies of is the one that I couldn't even remember was in my Letterboxd top 4. So it'd probably be Blade Runner. But again, it's not. I'm quite strict on multiple copies. Like if I've got a Blu-ray and upgrade to 4K, that Blu-ray's gone. Unless maybe it's got a legacy special feature on it or something that the new one doesn't have. Yeah. Or it's got an extra cut on it that the 4K doesn't have or something. Yeah. But I'm quite cutthroat that way. As soon as I've upgraded, then I don't want multiple copies. But with Blade Runner and like RoboCop, these films that are all like, it can get. I don't mind having multiple copies of that because they're like your favourite film, as long as you don't start to get too undisciplined though, and you've got 30 favourite films that you've got that you've got multiple copies of. Yeah. But I don't buy everything there is for that, but I'm just, if something comes out that's nice, that's Blade Runner related, RoboCop related, then I'd consider it even though I already have it. Yeah. But I wouldn't do that with just any film,
So it's not a case of like that you own every single copy that exists of like Blade Runner and RoboCop, but you do own multiple copies of them.
Yes, but I wouldn't, I'm not going out my way looking for every single release there's ever been of RoboCop kind of thing. Just whatever ones take my fancy. So, in your opinion then, why bother with physical media in the age of streaming? What's your what's your case for that? The $1 million question. So I think so. There's a lot. I keep meaning to cover it on my channel, but there's like dedicatedly in its own video. But there's a lot said about the death of physical media, especially in America. If you're familiar with the American stores like your Best Buys and all that, that's them stop stocking. And here, like, you used to be able to walk into Tesco's and get. There'd be a physical media section. Doesn't exist anymore. What we do have, Asda and all that, Morrison's, they're all shrinking. They'll probably go the same way. Yeah. It's not to interrupt you, but it's so weird. Like here where I stay, like it's just Morrison's. We've got 2 or 3 Morrison's here. There's no Tesco's or Asda's. They do have like a tiny physical media section, but for some reason it's still DVD. Like there's no 4K at all. There might be 1 or 2 Blu-rays, but like they still have like a wee shelf with like basically just the new releases. It's like just one wee row, but it's still just DVDs. I think it's probably just because it might shock some people to know that DVD is still the most successful selling format physically, because it's so cheap and it's actually not bad. I mean, I watched, going off on a tangent here, but I watched Roadhouse on DVD because I subscribed to Cinema Paradiso, and it was they only had it in DVD, and it came around in my rotation, and I got sent it. I hate watching DVDs because I was like, all right, I've got it, and I put it on expecting it to be like unwatchable. I was like, because when you've not watched DVD in a while, you think it's going to be like all pixelated and chewed up like an old VHS, but then I put it on, you forget you've got like modern TVs that are, have software that's upscaling them and stuff, and it was perfectly watchable. Some of the close-ups you would even from a distance it's not far off Blu-ray quality, but anyway. So it's still pretty good DVD. But yeah, back to your original question, I think I don't actually think there's been a better time. Like I genuinely think there's been a better time to get into physical media, and that because, well, look what's happened with streaming. So yes, streaming is more convenient, but it's an absolute free for all. Every single studio is trying to create their own platform. They're all clawing everything back, and you used to have like Netflix, Prime. They were your big players, and because Sony, Paramount, HBO, all these different ones, Lionsgate, all these different studios didn't have their own. Then it would make sense for them to lease their films out to the big platforms. But now they're realising, why don't we just claw it all in and do it ourselves? So you have to subscribe to like multiple platforms now if you want to have a broad selection of your kind of favourites.
I'm Joe Cull of the streaming, because I've fallen into that trap of getting a free 3-month trial and then forgetting to cancel it. So I think I need to look at Paramount Plus and Apple TV Plus, because I think I'm paying for them now, but not watching them.
It's amazing how quickly they add up as well. But yes, you've got that going on, and it can all, as I say, can add up to the point where you might be like £100 between your broadband and whatever the streaming service you're using a month to watch. And then if you actually be realistic with yourself and go back over your watch history, you might find you've not even watched a movie from one of them or whatever. And then you get paralysis as well, where it's, like you get that much that sometimes, tell me if you've been there, where you sit down to watch something, you go, going to watch something off streaming tonight. See, by the time you've checked Netflix, Prime, Paramount, Disney Plus, right, and nothing's really jumping out, but you've now went through about 100 films, and they feel throwaway because it's just a click a link. Whereas, see if you've actually went out and bought a film, or you have your own collection, and you actually pull that physical thing out and you put it down and say that's what's getting watched tonight, you're more likely to actually put it on and watch it because it's a physical thing, I think. But yeah, the quality is better. Yes, streaming's catching up. 4K Blu-ray is still the best way. Even Blu-ray, to be honest, has a steadier bit rate than the majority of streaming platforms. And that's before you even start talking about what broadband you can afford or where you are and how stable your connection is. You don't get lossless audio with all your streaming platforms, so it's still the best way to watch it. And it's, like I say, the reason I think it's the best time now, even in the age of streaming, is because the price has plummeted. You can go into a CEX or eBay and buy 20, 30 films that you actually want to see, for 50 pence a pop or whatever, which is probably still going to work out cheaper than whatever you would have paid for the month or 2 months you would have had to subscribe to the various different platforms to watch it.
Yeah.
And there's a proper sense of community. It's a niche thing now, so it's a collector's market as well. You're now getting, we're going to hopefully talk about it in another podcast, but you and I collect steelbooks, and these collector's editions, they just didn't exist. Like, not in the same abundant way they do now. Yeah. 10, 20 years ago. So if you're into films and you love owning physical media, there's never been a better time than to start decorating your shelves with really premium collector's editions, that have film historians writing articles within, and guys going behind the scenes and, doing kind of recorded interviews with the stars or the directors 20 years down the line, your second sights, your arrows and stuff. So I don't think it's never been more accessible to start, because you can pick up Blu-ray players for so cheap, second-hand Blu-ray so cheap. But then if you really want to throw money at it as well, you can get there's premium stuff that just wasn't available. So, and you've got you've got YouTube now, and you've got online communities where there's loads of people out there that collect also, so you can tie in with them, and you can be part of a community easier than you could have done before social media and stuff. So a big long-winded campaign for physical media here, but hopefully the points I've put across are selling it to people. That's why I think there's never been a better time to get into.
I would agree pretty much with everything you said there. I didn't actually realise, so you can pick up Blu-rays for 50 pence from CEX?
Aye, I mean, I didn't say they'd be good. Blu-rays. You'd be surprised though. I mean, you will get some films that are like massive movies. I say massive, like they've been big blockbusters, have big followings. They're only £1, and it's because they've been mass produced though. So,
right.
like I got World War Z for £1 the other day.
That's a pretty decent
not
movie.
50 pence, but it's a good film for £1. You know, if I'd went on Amazon and tried to buy it new though, it probably would have been about £7.99, eight quid, that kind of price. The 4K would be. In fact, I don't even think there's a 4K out for World War Z yet, is there? I think it's coming.
No, because I checked that recently because one of the kids is going through a zombie phase right now, and I thought that's a I don't want to say a child appropriate zombie movie, but you know,
Is there such a thing?
You know, for lack of a better phrase, that's a teenager friendly zombie movie, shall we say. So I checked that as far as I know there isn't a 4K of that, but I actually do own randomly 3 copies of that because I've got the original Blu-ray that came out, and then I've got, when I went on a Steelbook obsession, I ended up getting, I think, 2 copies of the Steelbook, and I think I might have a 3rd copy that's actually like a metal pack or an iron pack or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, there's as far as I know, there's no 4K of it, no.
I'm sure it's coming out. I'm sure I've seen it. I think it might be an American release, like Shout Factory. I've got the rights to it or something like that. Don't quote me on it, but I think one of these labels in America is bringing it out. But yeah, so like I say, big popular movies that you can start. If you're just starting off, like I'm talking about someone who's maybe like 17, 18 who doesn't even know what VHS is and stuff, right? Or DVD. They've only known streaming to this point, but they're like, I want to kind of get in on this, you know. Then you could go on to CX with like 10 quid and come out with 10 films. Couldn't have done that. When Blu-ray, I was around, so were you, when Blu-ray first came out, and it was, you know, 20, 25 quid for a per Blu-ray in like 2006, 2007. So
I remember buying my first DVD. I think my mum and dad got me a DVD player for my, I want to say maybe 16th birthday, because I've got a few years on you. But I got a DVD player for my 16th or maybe 17th birthday. It didn't have any DVDs in the box, so I immediately went to Global Video, because not to rent, but because you could buy X-Rental DVDs as well. And the first DVD I bought was the original Final Destination, and I vividly. I wish I don't even know if I still have this, because I did have a bit of a purge when I was upgrading to Blu-ray, but I wish I'd kept that DVD, because on one of the DVD extras, it's got a death clock.
All right.
So it would ask you.
Bit sinister.
It is. It would ask you a bunch of multiple choice questions, and then based on your answer, it would tell you the day you're going to die. It's just like, you would never
Very
get
aggressive marketing.
You would never get away with that now. Like
No.
if they
Can you imagine?
if they were to bring out like a 4K of Final Destination, like they're never going to put that on the new DVD. But yeah, you could
not with mental health now and stuff.
Exactly. You could answer these multiple choice questions on the Final Destination DVD, and it would tell you when you're going to die. So there's a reason to preserve physical media. Right, we'll wrap it up in a wee minute, mate. There's just a couple of more random movie questions I want to go through with you, so we're just going to do it quick fire style. A movie that makes you laugh. First thing that comes to head.
Borat. Tells you a lot about me.
A movie that makes you cry.
Can't say Marriage Story because I've already said it.
You can say Marriage Story.
Saving Private Ryan quite gets me sometimes at the end. Marriage Story.
That's
I
interesting.
cry quite a lot of films, to be fair.
Yeah, no, as do I.
Yeah.
What's the? I'm trying to think. I've seen Saving Private Ryan loads. What the end? When he's like at the graveside and
when
the
he
face
tells him
morphs.
earn this, that's hard.
I wouldn't say that she had a tear, but there's definitely a lump, a lump in my throat at that point. Yeah. Okay, let's wrap things up for this episode. Is there anything you want to put out there to the YouTube universe?
To the YouTube universe, in relation to my kind of niche, or just in general,
both.
Well, I suppose I kind of gave advice at the beginning, or like I gave some advice as to like that was kind of aimed, I suppose, at someone who's maybe wanting to start YouTube. So I'll just kind of double down on that. I think like there's never a better time to get into YouTube, and it doesn't have to be because you want to be the next Mr. Beast or take over the world. I've thoroughly enjoyed. Like I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't even know who you are were it not for the fact that someone
How dare you?
Someone, well, before your channel was taking over the world, mate. But there's so many people I've met through YouTube that I didn't know how many people I would meet and genuinely call my friends, and contact on almost a daily basis, be a, with messages and stuff, taking part in podcasts. So if you're into physical media or anything niche for that matter, and you don't have anyone, and you're kind of, I hate you saying that, real life, because it's disrespectful to your YouTube friends and stuff. It's as if you don't class them as the real people. But yeah, take the step to YouTube or any other, even Instagram or something like that, because it's a good way to meet up. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Because that's kind of, I should have said that at the beginning, that's where I was in a sense. Like, people didn't care in my immediate circle about picture quality. They didn't care about having the latest TV. They didn't care about 4K Blu-ray. They're all gone to streaming, and nobody wanted to particularly sit down and deep dive, picture quality or the themes within movies. So that was another reason why I wanted to kind of do it, in the hope that I would attract people who did want to talk about that. So yeah, I would say if you're interested and you want to surround yourself with like-minded people, consider YouTube or Instagram or another social media platform and put yourself out there, because you'd be surprised how quickly you'll be surrounded by people that are into what you're into.
Well put. Andy, thank you very, very much for joining me here on the first episode of Geek Chat. It might be the last episode, who knows? Hopefully not. But again, thanks for joining, and thanks for reaching out, all those months ago when you did. Well, that'll do us for today, folks. Thanks very much for tuning in. Make sure you sub to Andy's channel if you haven't already. I'll link to him below. He's one of my go-to guys for when it comes to picture quality and 4K and whatnot.
Thank you.
It's not a niche. It's not a niche within a niche that I get too much into.
Mm-hmm.
I like the unboxings and I like the physical presentations more than the 4K. So I wouldn't feel comfortable or even qualified really to talk about the HDR and the bitrate and the lossless audios, because my setup at home, it's not terrible, but it's an old 4K TV. In fact, it's that old, it doesn't even have any form of HDR. It's like a 12-year-old 4K LED with zero HDR. Like, every time my PlayStation turns on, it kind of comes up with a message. It's like, you don't have HDR yet.
It teases you.
Yeah, so, but I keep waiting for it to die, but it's a quality LG TV and it's still going strong. So yeah, sub to Andy's channel. The details are below, and we will catch you on the next video.